This video is for Wednesday, March 8th. Again, I'm going to try and set students up to be successful without giving all of the work or the final answer, so we can really push students' thinking with their homework. So number 1 says, yesterday I earned $120 selling newspapers. Today I earned $94. How much money did I make in both days? So for this problem, you're going to need to set up an equation. Both days is kind of giving us a hint that we're going to be using addition. So you're showing your equation using addition to find your final answer. Number 2, recently 2/5 of the items sold at Debbie's Sporting Goods were baseball caps. At Sasha's Sports, 2/8 of the items sold were baseball caps. Which store sold a greater fraction of baseball caps? So we're comparing 2/5 and 2/8. We've learned the saying, same top, I want a small bottom. Again, same top, I want a small bottom. And that's the fraction that's larger, because we are then looking at our denominator. The denominator tells us the size of the pieces. If I draw a picture for fifths, I'm going to see that this piece is much bigger than if I were to draw eighths. This piece is much smaller. So we know that fifths is larger than eighths, so we can then write the symbol in the middle. That's going to make the most sense, or that is true. Number 3, Jimmy has 40 Skittles. He eats 8 of his Skittles. He then shares the rest of his Skittles with 3 of his friends and himself. How many Skittles did Jimmy and each of his friends end up with? So this is actually a 2-step problem. First, Jimmy is he's eating 8 Skittles. So I'm going to have you think about what symbol needs to go in this problem. And then you're going to take your final answer down here, because then he's sharing that amount with 4 friends. So that amount divided by 4 is going to give you your final answer. So again, you should be showing your work for both step 1 and step 2. A sentence would also be great for this problem since it's a word problem. Number 4, we're putting these fractions on a number line. Number 1 says 1/2. So I'm going to have to cut this number line into 2 parts. 1, 2, and then 1/2. It's going to go right in the middle. 1/4 means I need to cut the number line into fourths. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1/1 is also the same thing as 1/2. So we know that 1/1 is going to go right under number 1. Again, because this whole piece is just cut into one whole piece, and 1 would be the whole thing. Number 5, Sean took a nap from 3:17 to 3:32. How many minutes did he nap for? So he started at 3:17, and then his final time, or his end of his nap, was at 3:32. We can add 10 minutes, so I'm going to. I can't add 10 more minutes, so I need to think. 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. Plus 5 gets me to 3:32, which was my final answer. Or sorry, my final time. So now I can figure out how many minutes Sean took his nap. Number 6, write the 2-area equation and find the area. So I need to have a 2-area equation as well as the final area. And remember, based on where you're cutting and continuing, your equation might look a little bit different. However, the area is going to be the same. Number 7, find sides A and B in the figure below, then find the area. So this is where we're doing our squiggle and our straight to keep ourselves organized. And then we're looking for A is on a straight line, so I'm going to use my other two straights to help me out. And B is on a squiggle, so I'm going to use my other two squiggles to help me out. And then I need my final area. Please remember, if you have a constructive response question for a problem like this, we don't want to talk about the squiggle lines or the straight lines, because those aren't math terms. That's just something we use to help ourselves stay organized. So make sure that you're never talking about the squiggles or the straights. You may talk about how you used the long side to find one of the missing short sides, but we never want to talk about squiggles or straight lines. For number 8, write 3 expressions that could be used to determine the area of the figure. We can see that the rows are going to be 4 rows, and the columns for the first rectangle are 3. So again, same as yesterday, the 3 equations we should be looking for are a 2 area equation, our rows times our columns, and our rows times our columns. So again, you should have these 3 answers filled in order to get this problem correct. Number 9, I'm going to push you guys to figure these out on your own today. Again, draw pictures if you need to, but we want to get to the point where we're not drawing pictures anymore. And for the division problems, if you're stuck, think to yourself, what times 8 is going to give me 32? And that normally helps me out. For number 10, which 2 statements match the expression 6 times 7? A teacher put 7 chairs at each of the 6 tables. If I have 6 tables and I'm putting 7 chairs, that's going to be multiplication, because we're going to count the chairs around this table and around this table and around this table and around this table and around. That's repeated addition, so it's going to match multiplication. Mania buys 6 red markers and 7 black markers. She's buying 6 red and 7 black markers. That's not multiplication. Kaden shares 7 markers with 5 friends. She's sharing. So that's going to be division. We're passing out, so that's not going to match. Let's just double check that D is correct. There are 6 rows of flowers. There are 7 in each row. So that would match our multiplication problem. Which statements are true? All rectangles are parallelograms. All rectangles have 4 right angles. No rectangles are trapezoids. All parallelograms are rectangles. So far we've learned about quadrilaterals, parallelograms, and trapezoids, and then we're just getting into our rectangle. So you're going to use what we've been talking about in math chat to really help you answer this question. Again, I'm not going to be giving you the answer to this one. I want you to really think through which of these are correct, and we'll go over the answer in class. Number 12, you can multiply any 2 of these numbers together and then multiply by the third. So for example, if you want to do 3 times 6, you're going to get 18, and then you still need to multiply by this last 3. You can either use repeated addition to figure out your total answer, or you can also split up your 18 just like we would if we drew a picture of this. Oops. So if we have 18 rows and 3 columns, we can break this down into 10 rows and 8, just to help ourselves out a little bit more and make that bigger multiplication problem easier. For number 13, how many more stuffed animals did Jess own than Sarah? So we need to look at Sarah, Jess. Each of these symbols counts as 2 stuffed animals. So Sarah has 4, Jess has 6. You need to write out your equation to show how many more stuffed animals did Jess have than Sarah. Again, we'll go over the answer in class. Make sure you have your equation to support your answer. Number 14, how many students have blonde or black hair? Now, if I ask the question to the class, if you have blonde or black hair, raise your hand. Students that have blonde hair and students that have black hair are both going to be raising their hands. So this is actually kind of a tricky problem because even though it says or, it's actually an addition problem. Again, if I ask the class, if you have blonde or black hair, raise your hand. So I might have some students with blonde hair raising hands. I might also have some students with black hair raising their hands. So we're going to actually be using addition to find out the answer. So again, your equation should have the blonde-haired students plus the black-haired students in order to find your final answer. And then number 15, Benjamin knows the answer to 10 times 5 plus 2 times 5. He says that these facts help him find the product of 20 times 5 because 10 times 2 equals 20. Explain why Benjamin is incorrect. What products can Benjamin find using the facts he knows? Explain how you know. So first of all, we need to explain or retell what Benjamin did. So Benjamin did 10 times 5 plus 2 times 5 because he thought that he knows that 2 times 10 equals 20. Then we need to explain why this is wrong. This is wrong because, and we're going to explain that if he's trying to figure out 20 times 5, we're not going to break this down into 10 and 2 because that only equals 12. So we're going to have to use a different picture in order to show this. So we might break it down using 10 and 10, or we could do 5 and 15. But 10 and 10 is probably the best picture to use to help yourself because you know very quickly 10 times 5 is 50, 10 times 5 is 50, and we're just going to add those two up. So again, this is wrong because if we did 10 and 2, that gives us 12, not 20. So he broke down his rows incorrectly. This is wrong because Benjamin split his rows incorrectly. 10 plus 2 equals 12, not 20. So we're then going to say what the right way is, or write down what the right way is. So 10 times 5 plus 10 times 5 could be added together to find 20 times 5. And I also suggest writing down like the final answer at the bottom. So again, in order to correct Benjamin's thinking, we need to tell what he did, why that's wrong. And normally for this step, I find it very helpful to draw a picture to see how he's incorrect and then to find the right way. And then the last step is to say the correct way of solving this problem, what he should have done. Again, any questions that you have, be sure to ask your teachers tomorrow morning. Have a great night.